Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon.
I'm going to put on the positive side, right? Focus, take whatever it is you're making right now, and I'm telling you, we will see a completely different world, all right? Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon.
Come on, somebody. Come on, so we're going to do really confident that we already know.
I can do some things to supplement what the education system is not providing.
Teammates, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know what it's about. Get right into the point. And before I get started on today's topic, I want to remind everyone to join me every single Sunday for the live stream Sundays in which we're navigating NIL in the transfer portal. If you are either a current collegiate athlete or a high school athlete or a parent, a coach, or administrator of anybody that's been affected by the transfer portal and NIL, I do a live stream every single Sunday with a guest. Usually it's with a guest. It may or may not be I may or may not do these solo like I do a lot of these podcast episodes. It may come a time where I start doing solo ones, but for now, for the most part, it's usually going to be with a guest in which you can submit your questions previously, and we host a live stream on my YouTube channel, the channel where you may or may not be listening to this very podcast on. Just look up as one C44, just simply Google as one Crookshank. You're not going to find another as one Crookshank. All right, you'll know exactly who it is the minute you look me up. All the move swiftly, innovative teamwork, all the stuff that I put out there on a consistent basis, especially on YouTube, is going to be there. Come in on the live stream, man. Ask your questions, submit your questions previously. It is my mission, my goal, to make sure I'm part of the solution in which NIL and the transfer portal, all the chaos that it's caused within college athletics. And to be honest with you, this chaos the chaos isn't just limited to college athletics. It's also in the high school world. It's trickling into the professional world and all that, sports in general. Between the transfer portal and NIL, it's turning, times are changing. I'm not here to complain about it. I'm just here to be a part of the solution and allow my story and the things I've lived through myself, allow what I've learned throughout my living, right? Allow what I've learned to help be a solution to the problem. All right. So just make sure you join me every Sunday, or reach out. The email is as1@d1transfer.com. And all of the information is actually on d1transfer.com. You can submit your highlight tape. All the information is there in a very clear step-by-step process. All right. As far as today's episode, we are talking about how to develop your North Star. All right. When I say North Star, I mean when you get into business. All right. And this is true for anybody. That's whether you're running your own business as a sole proprietor, where you have a job and you're still running, you're not making the money that you want to make at your job. You actually, if you're like me and you knew you weren't gonna, you took a job knowing that it wasn't gonna pay a whole lot, but it was gonna match well, it was gonna mesh well with your business. You knew you were gonna be able to run your business while working this job. Or if you are working a job and that's your main hustle and you have a business that's your side hustle, whatever the situation is, wherever you are in business, again, full scale entrepreneur, you're able to, this is all you do in your business, or you have a job, but you're running your business and you're trying to work around your job and your business. You're trying to make your business the main thing. Or if you're the opposite and you have a job and, you just want to run your business on the side, wherever you are in that scale, understand it's going to be equally important for you to know what your North Star is. I said North Star, just so we're clear. All right. The North Star is as it pertains to the conversation the conversation that we're getting ready to have now, is where is it do you want your business to be 5, 10, 15 years down the line? What exactly do you want built? What exactly do you want it to look like? What exactly do you want it to look like for your customers, your shareholders, the people that excuse me, the people that are investing in you day in and day out. What do you want them to walk into? What do you want them to type online? What do you want them to purchase? What do you want the change in their life to be because of the product and service that you've put out there? What exactly does it look like? Does it come in the form of a store? Does it come in the form of a product? Does it come in the form of some online experience? Does it come in the form of a travel stay where you go take people out to a retreat and you wine and dine them for a week or a month or however it is? What exactly does it look like? What does the result look like for your customer? All right. You have got to get these questions answered as soon as possible, because here's what happens, and here's what kind of inspired this episode. Is a great friend of mine, man, great colleague of mine, and you guys are probably, if you listen to the show regularly, you heard me mention Taj Deshaun's name on multiple. I know him as Taj Johnson because I played football with him. He goes by Taj Deshaun these days, but he is just as responsible as I am for making this show the success it's been. All right, he was the first guest on the first ever episode on this show 4 years ago. I'd say, with well over 85 to probably close to 90% of the people that I've had on as guests on this show, I've known because of the work he's put out there. And again, it's the fact that we're teammates and, we're always staying in contact. We push each other. Can't think if I do. Actually, it's him and one other, and all the teammates that I've ever had. And that's been a lot. All the years I've been involved with the game of football or sports, athletics, educator, all that. Fitness, I'm in it. I'm in this world heavy, right? 10 toes in, like I'm all in. Right? I can only think of, at the moment, I can only think of him and another teammate that I met my freshman year of college that became authors, thought leaders, people that are putting intellectual property out there. So, again, we stay in touch because there's not a lot of other teammates who are doing the kind of work we're doing in terms of making sure podcasts are being published, make sure podcasts are, first of all, being recorded, make sure they're being published, make sure you're putting your stuff out there on a consistent basis, whether it gets a ton of views or whether it gets no views. Make sure it gets put out there on a consistent basis, because we've developed this reputation online. When people look us up, there's a certain expectation that you get when you see people out there on camera, on video, listen to a podcast, see their books, you see that they're absolutely just all the way in the business. They're not halfway stepping. They're in the business of helping people. They know their lane. You feel their intensity, you feel their authenticity. Even if you just, you just click on a quick YouTube video, there's an authenticity there that just really attracts people. All right. So there's not, obviously, with all that I just said, there's not a lot of people out there that you can relate to. Again, shout out to my boy Taj for being one of the teammates that I've had that I can relate to, and we can reach out to each other and, help each other when we're going through situations, whether good, bad, whatever it is, always just staying in contact. Right. So, first of all, if you're listening, Todd, congrats on the baby. But it's during this week, the week I'm recording this, he and I finally got a chance to catch up. And I think I'm sure I don't just speak for myself when I say this, but it kind of shook everyone when we read I know for me personally, I only listened to this pod in terms of the Apple podcast that I subscribe to. So the ones that pop up as notifications in terms of new episodes, it's this show that I'm the host of. It's Dre Baldwin's Work on Your Game, and it's Taj Deshaun's podcast named Thrive After Sports. Just three. Mine, Boy Taj, and one of my business mentors, Dre Baldwin. Right. So those are only three episodes. Those are only three podcasts that I actually subscribe to. And whatever they put out, it comes out daily, because it comes out. It shows up as a notification on my phone, right? So not that I don't listen to other shows or listen to audiobooks or anything like that, but in terms of the ones that I subscribe to, that I make sure I know what's going on in their world, like I'm a loyal follower to those two. Those are the two. So I'm sure I don't speak for myself when I say, hey, he put out an episode that said that the title was, "Is this the end of Thrive After Sports?" And swear, bro. Listen, I saw that notification on my phone through my podcast app. I'm like, what the fuck? No, no, it cannot be the end of Thrive After Sports. So I immediately plugged it in, and he had talked about that how he had considered, because he just had a baby boy. Yeah, actually did consider ending it, and he kind of gave everyone a recap or an update on what was going on. And luckily, fortunately for me, I had the opportunity to catch up with him over the phone, and you kind of heard it a little bit in his voice and his tone, like, yeah, it was a serious thing about potentially ending the business and all that. But as loyal as a person who I know he is, he's not just going go quietly. He's not just gonna go quietly into that. He's gonna figure stuff out and make sure Thrive After Sports stays relevant. So it was a great conversation. The reason I'm bringing all this up is because I want to bring the conversation to you guys. One of the things that I had mentioned to him as I was kind of hearing it in his voice, and we were speaking, we were catching up and all that, is I told him, I said, hey man, one of the things that helps me or helped me or helps me throughout, it does not like it's a past tense thing, it's something that helps me even throughout my day, is getting really clear on what my North Star is. And I want to bring that conversation to you guys who are listening to me, especially the ones who regularly listen to my work. All right. Or the newcomers is equally important for the newcomers and the people who are regular listeners or regular consumers. Is when you get clear on that North Star, all right, when you get clear on what exactly you want your business to look like, how do you want to serve people, how you want, like I mentioned previously, just a couple minutes ago, is how you want people who are consuming your work, how you want to change their lives, and what exactly you want it to look like, then the possibility or the idea of ending your business, the idea of just throwing it away, dropping it, moving on to something else, the idea of stopping will remove, you will not even be able to have the idea of stopping, because you know exactly what you want it to look like, or you know exactly what you want it to look like. I'll give you a couple examples, right? So if you go to Amazon.com right now and you buy something, what is immediately the next thing that's going to happen, right? You're going to get, you're going to get bombarded with emails about joining the Prime membership. Look at all the cool things that you can do with your Prime membership. You can sign up to this. You can sign up to all the subscription service, all the things that Amazon gives you access to when you pay your, I don't know, it's like what, 14 or $9 a month or whatever it is, that they make sure that that's their North Star. That's how they keep customers coming back, whether they buy a product off Amazon or not that day. They know that that subscription service, a very affordable subscription service that gives you access to music, that gives you access to TV, that gives you access to all of the things that you can get on Amazon. That's what I mean when I say a North Star. They're Prime members, all right? You get a Starbucks, again, place that you go into not just to buy coffee. You go in, you have your business meetings, you go in there, you do your work, that's set up for a person that doesn't work a 9 to 5. Let's say you're even working online or doing it remotely. You can go to your local Starbucks and you could spend an entire day there, have your breakfast, have your lunch there, get whatever it is you need. That's what I mean, your North Star. What does your North Star look like? Nike is another example. There's Nike. You buy a product from the Nike factory, you're going to get bombarded with emails. In fact, that when I remember I did an episode where I talked about my first visit to a Nike factory that I go to that's right here in West Palm Beach, where I currently reside. And they made me sign up to be a member. So I was able to skip the line. I was able to download the app, get a percentage off these sneakers, and I was able to purchase the stuff right through the app, right? Even though the line was crazy. Again, their whole goal was to get people to become a member, download the app, whatever it is your North Star looks like, that's going to keep people in your ecosystem, keep new people coming into your world day in and day out. That's what I mean when I say developing your North Star. And even with Dre Baldwin, the one I mentioned in terms of the podcast that I subscribe to, he has something called Work on Your Game University. These are the things that people can come into his world, whether you're coming in as the 5-figure client or you're coming in as just part of the group coaching. You have access to the modules and the material and the things that thousands, not exaggerating, thousands of material that he's put out there over the years, So you're developing that North Star gives you the clarity that you want in your business. And it's like the old saying goes, you get to keep the main thing, the main thing. So I kind of, mentioned that to Taj, and, he had said that's good advice. And, hopefully it did clear things up. I know for a fact it helped clear things up for him. And what I want to talk to you guys today about is how, as Juan Cruikshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, yours truly, the host of this show, the number one show on innovative teamwork. It's been the number one show on innovative teamwork. We're going to be approaching a year of it being the number one show on innovative teamwork. How I developed my North Star, how I found my North Star, and how my North Star. And again, this is something, all right, I don't want to simplify this. I know I might be saying it might be coming across to you as this is something that is just a simple thing to do and it's going to happen overnight. This is a process, all right? I'll say it again for the people in the back. If you did not hear me the right way, this developing your North Star for your business and your organization and where you want it to be, knowing it like the back of your hand. I mean, knowing it beyond knowing it, knowing exactly what your North Star is going to be and what you want your business to look like 10, 15 years down the line is a process. It's a tedious process, and you have got to take action. All right. If you're serious about running your business, if you're serious about doing some good in the world, if you're serious about really serving a group of people, serving your customers, giving your customers something that they cannot live without. All right. You've got to be committed. You got to be committed like a motherfucker to the process. You've got to commit your ass to the process, even when things don't necessarily go the way you planned for it to go. All right. It's going to become a full circle moment when you've actually put your head on it. You've nailed it down. You focused up just long enough. You focused to say, that's my North Star. That's where I want my business to look. And people will feel the confidence in you. You'll know exactly what to say. You'll know who to connect with, who not to connect with. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing when you've developed your North Star. So throughout the time of me having this show, throughout the time of me, putting out my first book, which is Swiftly, which came out pretty much the same time as this show started, back in 2020. It was around 2020 time when everything was going on with COVID, and we were all locked down. Everything was shut down. It was around the time where I put the first book out and this podcast. And again, like I mentioned, we're going 4 years now. That was in 2020. Where now I'm currently recording this in 2024, right? So when I heard that, or when I first learned this concept of figuring out what my North Star is, how I'm going to serve people and all that stuff, the answer I would give people, and these are, online business coaches, webinars, people that I've gone to for advice and stuff like that. And they would ask me, what you want your business to look like, how you want it to look and all that kind of stuff. My answer to them would normally be, I want to open up my own youth center. All right. I want to open up my own youth center. If you were listening to me back then, that was the main goal. All right. If you were to go on makeyourmove.com now, you would have seen the tab that said youth center. I'm opening up a youth center. The plan is to open up a youth center in which we teach kids boxing and dance, and dance, entrepreneurship. And I was working with a lot of anti-bullying organizations and trying to reach out to them, trying to get them on the podcast. A lot of things I was doing. Actually, I just put out my second book, which is titled Make Your Move, where I talked about there was a time where I was physically assaulted by two teachers in high school, physically assaulted and, bullied and all that. So it's not that I'm going away from opening up my own youth center, but it's no longer the North Star. All right. It's no longer the North Star. It's no longer the main thing that I'm looking to get done. All right. And I'll tell you why. When I first came up with that North Star, or I had that in my mind as the thing that I wanted to have, I was working at a boxing gym. I was working at a boxing gym, and I was also doing the fundraising 50-50 stuff with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. And there were two worlds that I was seeing, and I was colliding. I figured, opening up my own youth center made a lot of sense, right? So during that time, throughout that time, I decided that I was gonna, because I knew, again, I'm going off the idea, or going off the concept of opening up my own youth center. I left in 2021. I left that boxing gym and started my journey in the education world as an educator. I started kindergarten. Now I'm at the Center for Creative Education, where I'm around kids all day. So for the past 3 years now, it's been about 3.5 years now, my day-to-day would consist around being around kids. I mean, getting into fights with, I mean, just going back and forth, loving on these youngins, getting relationships with the parents, loving them, going at it with them, making them do their work, living the life of an actual elementary school teacher. This has been actually what I've been doing. And the reason that I don't have a teacher certification, I don't plan on getting one or anything like that. But the reason that I don't want to, I've excelled, or I've learned. I don't want, the thing is, I know I'm a good teacher, but then I know there's so much more for me to learn and stuff like that. So the reason I've been able to kind of get some footing as a elementary school teacher is because I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to open up my own youth center. That's what inspired me to make sure I took a job where I'm around kids, so I could learn what people that actually have facilities, have buildings, have situated, have an entity that they service the youth. They have the youth come in, and this is what we have to do. These are the day to day. This is what you will have to do if you are in fact serious about opening up a youth center. And this was what inspired me to take these jobs and to actually apply and work in education, especially the elementary school education world. That's what inspired me to do so. And I got to tell you, I'm laughing because I just had this conversation with the CEO of the Center for Creative Education. I was telling him the same thing, and I was saying, look, I came into this world wanting to open up my own youth center, and the more and more I see what you guys go through, what the counselors go through, what the facility managers go through, what the owners go through, the people that try to open up these centers that are strictly for the youth, the more and more I see what you guys go through, then less and less I want those problems. I'll tell you straight up. And this is somebody, again, I interact with the kids every day. We fight, we love each other, we have fun, we do whatever. I'm great with the kids. But as I'm moving forward, I realize, okay, opening up a youth center in which you're servicing the kids, when it comes to the liability, when it comes to the, making sure all your certifications are on point, and the how you have to nurture them. I mean, you got to understand, these are people's kids. These are their babies. And you're putting them, you're opening up a business, and every I has to be dotted, T's got to be crossed for you to open up a facility that's going to service kids and have kids in their facility. The waivers, I mean, it is an absolute headache, and then these things have to be renewed, and then you have to get approval from this, approval from that. There's so many things that go into actually opening up a youth center, and the more and more I'm around it, as I'm around it every single day, I say, look, opening up a youth center is not going to be my North Star. The business that I want to run, the people that I want to serve, opening up a youth center is not going to be the North Star. So I removed that from being the North Star. And this is what I want. This is the reason I'm telling you this, is because I want you guys to understand it's going to take action. It's going to take action for you to really know what your North Star looks like and know what your business looks like. It's going to take you really having a concept, having a idea, fleshing it out, going out, meeting people, shaking this one's hands, kissing babies, doing whatever you got to do to get some real life experience. One of my favorite authors, his name is Malcolm Gladwell, wrote Outliers, The Tipping Point, What the Dog Saw, and Blink, a great one named Blink, right? Just a lot of psychological stuff where we're constantly thinking, constantly giving people a new way of thinking. But I remember I was listening to him on an interview one time, and he said, everybody has to be an anthropologist. That's the problem with school. Too often in school, we tell kids that, okay, you're either an anthropologist, or you're a business major, or you're a math major, or you're a Africana studies major. Everyone has to be an anthropologist, and everyone has to go out and go into the world and figure out exactly how they fit into this world. That's the way it should be, right? We have to all be anthropologists. And for me, I again, went out. I said I wanted to open up a youth center, and then I realized, hey, the people that have these youth centers, they have these franchises, and whether it's a franchise youth center like KinderCare or it's one that's just going to be the only location like I'm at now, they're equal. The problems are absolutely immense, and these problems are going to take me away from the things that I'm skilled at, which is the public speaking, which is the reading, which is the recording, which is the constantly coming up with creative ways to have fun and creative ways of teaching and quick lessons and all the innovative things I do, and especially in regards to teamwork. Trying to open up a youth center, you're going to have to be very by the book. And that's when I realized it was, as I'm having these thoughts, as I'm putting out this material every single day, where I realized, okay, opening up a youth center is not going to be the North Star of the Move Swiftly Sports Marketing Company. It's not going to be the thing that I aspire, or I have conversations, whether it's an angel investor or a customer or shareholder. I'm not having conversations about opening up a youth center anymore, right? So if you go on makeyourmove.com now, you're not even going to have access to the tab that says youth center, right? Now, my North Star, and because I went through that, I was able to really nail down and kind of niche down a little bit when it comes to what my new North Star would be. And the new North Star is now, and I'm just telling, the reason I'm telling you guys this is because I want to give you my process so you are able to take it in and apply it to your process so you know what your North Star is going to be, right? So my North Star now is to open up my own school of management, my own school of sports management called the Move Swiftly School of Sports Management, all right? All powered through sports marketing tactics, all powered with helping an individual, come into this school. And once you come into the school, you will now be certified to go and be the business manager for any athlete, whether it's youth, high school, college, or pros. All right. That is now my North Star. And it developed because of my time spent as an educator. It developed because of my time spent as an actual college scout. It developed because of my time spent as a high school football coach. It developed because of my time spent as an actual trainer, a boxing trainer. Developed as my time as working in the fundraising and the business department for the Miami Dolphins Foundation. All right. All of this came together because I just flat out went to work. All right. Flat out went to work. Developed that North Star because you just flat out went to work, and I knew the elements that certain things need to be in. All right. I knew what certain elements need to be in place. And if I'm going out and I'm, again, continuously putting out this material, and you guys can go fact check me. It's all available, especially on this very podcast. I don't know where you're listening to it from, but you can hear me again. You go back 3, 4, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I'm talking about opening up my own youth center, where I may have mentioned that idea. And now the North Star changed to something a little more focused. And not to say that I can't serve the kids, not to say that I can't offer boxing lessons at this school of sports management, not to say I can't offer dance lessons, not to say I can't offer public speaking and sports marketing course, or entrepreneurship and all that. I can still offer the same things that I wanted to offer at the youth center that I will be offering at the School of Sports Management, because again, just flat out went to work. But in terms of what you're calling it and knowing exactly what the elements are going to be, this is important as you communicate what's going on in your head, in your mind, in your heart. As you communicate that to the world, you're going to need to have these answers. You're going to need to have it make sense for the people that are going to support you regularly, and make it so it's really easy and streamline the process for them. So it's very easy for them to understand. The same way you're going to walk into a McDonald's, you're going to order the number 5. I don't know. I don't eat McDonald's. Well, actually, let's use a different example, because I'm not going to support McDonald's here. I don't eat that stuff. Let's say it's Chipotle. All right, Chipotle, which I do believe actually is owned by McDonald's. But the bottom line is, you walk into a Chipotle, you know exactly what you're going to get. You get your seminar and you walk in there, they ask you if you want rice, brown rice, or white rice or brown rice. You get your beans. If you don't want beans, me personally, I like the black beans. You get your fajitas, you get your meat, and then you add your toppings. Boom. Streamline that process. All right, streamline that process. Every once in a while, they add a couple meats that have a little bit of flavor, but they keep the main thing. All right, and that is the goal. That is what you need to be taken away from today's episode is what's going to be my main thing and what exactly is it going to look like. And then from there, every single day, you can spend every single day. I'm telling you from experience. I'm only speaking on the things I know. I'm telling you from experience, it won't feel like work. It will not feel like work because you know what you want your bottom, you know what you want your thing to look like, and you're going to have the clarity that you need in your business. So in case something goes on, whether it's a family situation, personal situation where you may have to take a step back from the business or you may have to put certain things on hold, you'll know what it looks like and you'll never really have the ability to just quit flat out. You'll figure out ways to implement certain things in your business when they're needed and where they're needed. All right. So before you go out and you reach out, before you go out and try to sell and shove product down people's throat and do all these things, do all the things that seems like that the TV puts out as running a business, you got to know what you want it to look like, know exactly what you want it to look like, and then develop the process towards getting there. And you will get there. You will get there if you follow the step-by-step process and if you take action. All right. So that's today's episode. I don't have a whole lot to you. I wanted to make sure I made an entire episode speaking on how important it is to have your North Star, because this is not something that's taught in business class, right? This is not something that you're going to pick up in school. This is why this show remains to be the #1 show on innovative teamwork, is because you're going to get information. You're going to get things that you're not getting in the school system, and it's going to give you the clarity in your business that you need to move forward. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.